What if there was no separation between you and me and anything else? How would we experience reality? Let's find out what the most dangerous spiritual book in the world has to say about the illusion of separation. The Avadhuta Gita constantly subverts our general way of thinking. And in this verse, Dattatreya speaks about the illusion of separation that we've all bought into hook, line, and sinker and have never really considered reality at a deeper level. What does the Avadhuta Gita have to say about the illusion of separation? For you and me, there can be neither union nor separation. In reality, neither you nor I nor this world exists. The Atman alone abides. The Avadhuta Gita in this verse is coming from Lord Dattatreya's lofty view of the ultimate reality of Brahman, not from how we generally see the world, from our jiva, our persona system, where we see this and that and we judge the world accordingly. Due to our conditioning, how we've been raised, and the accumulative set of knowledge that we've all been ingrained with, and that's what actually causes conflict in the world, right? We have differing views of the world which come into conflict. But the source of our existence is all the same. It's all the undifferentiated consciousness of Brahman. And so from that place, as Dattatreya said, there can be neither division or separation. It cannot exist. There cannot be a gap between you and I. Not even physical gap here. Like we're all part of this one existence. And if we look at it from a Shiva perspective, the reality we experience itself is Shakti. It's the power of Shiva, right? It's the power of Shiva. Even though we're experiencing it in a way that feels subjective and dual, it's ultimately one Shiva. This is also the Taoist perspective as well, where we come from one source, and this is actually one life, but we get influenced through our subjective viewpoint, and so we think that we are isolated from the rest of the world, which is not true. And this is what Dattatreya is trying to explain to us, that it's all one. It's all one undifferentiated Brahman. And so from that place, neither union nor separation exists, right? Union implies separation itself, right? I need to unite with something. So when we look at the root of yoga, which is yug, is to unite or to reconnect with the divine, so to speak. But that still implies separation from the Advaita Vedanta perspective. And that's where the Avadhuta Gita goes even deeper, because it's trying to destroy all of this implied division and separation and this idea of union, the idea that we need to unite with something when we're already that. Right? We are already that. It's like the age-old argument between Confucius and Lao Tzu in the Warring States period of China, where Lao Tzu is explaining that we are already the Tao. The Tao is already moving through us, and then Confucius is saying we need to cultivate it, and we need to go through the self-cultivation process and make society a certain way. When Lao Tzu is saying absolutely not. We are all the undifferentiated ultimate Tao, and that's exactly what Dattatreya is saying here as well. Dattatreya is saying that separation and union themselves are an illusion from the ultimate reality, because all that exists is the Atman. The Atman, the undifferentiated consciousness within you and me, is identical with Brahman. And so from that perspective, as he says in this verse, neither you nor I nor the world around us even exists. We think it exists from our subjective viewpoint, right? We think it exists through the jiva because we're experiencing the reality subjectively. And we've identified with this equipment, the localization of this equipment. What I mean by that is the mind and the body. We've identified with this equipment, and we think that everything we are experiencing is the ultimate reality. Newsflash, it's not. Most of us, if we're lucky, will only get to live for 100 years or so. And that time frame in relation to the whole life of the universe is not even the blink. But we often think that our life is the center of the universe and we are so important, but we ultimately aren't. We only think that when we are the jiva, when we think that we are this person that we've been trained to believe who we are, but we aren't that. All that exists, as Dattatreya says, is the Atman alone. The Atman alone exists. That which is Brahman, that's all that exists. And so you, me, the world around us, all of the dramas and things that you think that are going on, it's all Maya. It's all the illusion of measurement that comes from our subjective perspective. We are measuring the world thinking that we are coming to some sort of conclusion of what the world is around us. And Dattatreya and a lot of the other great spiritual traditions are saying we need to actually continually subtract and peel those layers back of conditioning. Then we can understand what is going on around here. Not by adding more, we need to subtract. But the problem is, in the current world that we live in, is that we are told that we need to add, and then we will continually work out what's going on. And then all we're seeing is more and more confusion and more conflict because we don't really know what's happening. And that's where the enlightened sages and masters and the great spiritual traditions come in, because they say, let's start subtracting from what we think we know. Let's start subtracting from the subjective viewpoint and jiva we believe we are. And then you'll start to experience that Atman alone exists, because you'll be abiding as that. And we all are that right now. The trick that's been pulled over us is that we need to unite with that, or at some distance away, or we need to do some things to attain that. But the truth is we're ultimately that right now. There is no distance between you and the Atman. You are the Atman. Not you as the persona system and the jiva, but ultimately who I'm speaking to when you aren't listening with all of the conditioning in your ears and your mind. You can hear this message. We all are that. But we often don't hear that. We think that we're something else. We think that we're this person, and then we put ourselves on a pedestal. And it's only when death comes and we start to fall off the pedestal that we've been duped in this life to believing that we are the be-all and end-all. But we're not. Atman alone abides, and you are that. And that's what Dattatreya's message is constantly through the Avadhuta Gita. And it's something that we need to continually remind ourselves of. We don't need to unite with others in the world around us. We're not separate from others in the world around us. All that exists is Atman, and that is Brahman. So there's no distance between you and the ultimate reality of nature. And then when you understand that, then this whole charade of the ego that we're all playing will end. And then we will live in a completely different world where conflict and confusion will have subsided, because all that truly exists is the Atman alone. Shanti, shanti, shanti.